This past week has been nothing short of catastrophic for Donald Trump and his loyal following within the Republican Party. Capitol Hill has seen unprecedented chaos, as key members of the GOP are now publicly turning on the former president, adding fuel to the fire of his political decline. From humiliating defeats to the unraveling of Trump's carefully constructed political power, this week has exposed serious cracks in his leadership and his ability to control his allies. What's most striking is the growing dissatisfaction and betrayal from within his own party, the very party he helped shape into his personal brand of MAGA politics. As Trump's influence wanes, the GOP is now grappling with a series of devastating revelations, personal betrayals, and public embarrassments, all of which point to a loss of control. While Trump has always maintained a strong grip on the Republican base, recent developments suggest that even his most ardent supporters are starting to question his competence and judgment. This week, the spotlight has been on Trump's disastrous attempts to influence key appointments and nominations, as well as his interactions with the very people who once revered him. This video will take you through the most significant events of this chaotic week for Donald Trump, each one another nail in the coffin of his political credibility. From the failed nomination of Matt Gaetz to allegations of sexual misconduct surrounding his picks, Trump's decisions are now backfiring in the worst way possible. 1. Matt Gaetz's short-lived Attorney General nomination, a humiliating defeat. One of the most humiliating moments for Donald Trump this week came with the failed nomination of Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. Gaetz, a staunch ally of Trump, was chosen for the role despite his history of controversy and ongoing investigations into allegations of child sex trafficking. The nomination, which seemed doomed from the start, collapsed under the weight of serious accusations that Gaetz had engaged in inappropriate and illegal behavior. Despite Trump's vocal support for Gaetz, stating that Gaetz was doing very well in his bid for Attorney General, the mounting pressure of allegations led to Gaetz withdrawing his name from consideration. This withdrawal marked a new low for Trump's influence, as it exposed the GOP's unwillingness to back a man who, according to many, was a political liability. The nomination lasted only 8 days, making it the third shortest in U.S. history. While Gaetz is no stranger to controversy, the speed with which this nomination unraveled speaks volumes about Trump's diminishing power within his own party. As political commentator Ron Filipkowski pointed out, only an incompetent idiot would have thought that Gaetz had any chance of being confirmed. And yet, Trump's support for the controversial congressman only further tarnished his own credibility. The allegations against Gaetz were not just a distraction. They were serious claims of criminal behavior that should have disqualified him from consideration in the first place. 2. Peter Heighth's questionable appointment for Secretary of Defense. Adding to the pile of embarrassing nominations was Trump's choice for Secretary of Defense. Peter Height, a Fox News Weekend host with no prior experience in military leadership. Heighth's nomination was not only controversial because of his lack of qualifications but also due to disturbing allegations of sexual assault. In 2017, Height was accused of raping an unconscious woman in Monterey, California, though he claimed the encounter was consensual. When asked about the accusations during his confirmation hearings, Height attempted to downplay the seriousness of the situation, claiming that he had been completely cleared of any wrongdoing. However, his response, saying "as far as the media is concerned," revealed a troubling disregard for the gravity of the allegations. Heighth's inability to provide a clear and convincing explanation for the incident raised further questions about his fitness to serve as Secretary of Defense, a position responsible for overseeing the country's military and nuclear arsenal. The nomination, like Gaetz's, was doomed to fail. Trump's willingness to back such a highly questionable figure further illustrated his poor judgment and the lack of vetting in his appointments. For many, this only added to the perception that Trump's inner circle is filled with morally compromised individuals who, in the case of Gaetz and Height, have been accused of serious criminal acts. 3. The fall of Trump's political allies, from RFK Jr. to Jair Bolsonaro. It's not just Trump's cabinet picks that are making headlines. His support for controversial foreign figures has also placed him in a precarious position. Most notably, his continued praise for Jair Bolsonaro, the former president of Brazil, has been met with backlash following the announcement that Bolsonaro has been indicted for his role in a coup plot to overthrow his successor. Trump had long aligned himself with Bolsonaro, even offering his public support during Brazil's political turmoil. This week, however, Bolsonaro's legal troubles have come to a head, and Trump's association with a former Brazilian leader now seems like another embarrassment on his record. Moreover, Trump's support for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an anti-vaccine conspiracy theorist who recently announced his independent run for president, has also raised eyebrows. The political and ideological rift between Trump and the rest of the GOP is widening as more and more members of the party distance themselves from his controversial alliances. 4. Republicans under fire. The Matt Gaetz scandal and the Epstein allegations. The fallout from Matt Gaetz's failed attorney general bid is not only embarrassing for Trump but also for the Republican Party as a whole. In the wake of the Gaetz scandal, members of the GOP have been forced to defend a man with serious allegations of child sex trafficking against him. Several Republicans, including Trump loyalists, were pressured to publicly support Gaetz, despite the gravity of the accusations against him. This week, GOP members such as Warren Davidson, a congressman from Ohio, were caught on camera attempting to justify their support for Gaetz. In a cringeworthy defense, Davidson insisted that Gaetz should be the next attorney general, arguing that the public needed someone who would drive change and expose the weaponization of the Department of Justice. The defense of Gaetz has led to accusations that the GOP is now the pro-child sex trafficking party, a claim that has further tarnished its reputation. Adding fuel to the fire, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a far-right Republican from Georgia, threatened to expose her fellow Republicans' alleged connections to Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender who trafficked young women for powerful men. Greene's comments, though likely hyperbolic, reflect the growing sense of paranoia and infighting within the GOP. As Trump's influence wanes, so too does the cohesion of the party. 5. The Republican war on transgender rights. Meanwhile, the GOP continues its war on transgender rights, with Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace leading the charge against transgender Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. Mace and other Republicans have focused on McBride's gender identity, attacking her for using women's restrooms and attempting to deny her basic rights. This attack is part of a broader strategy to rally the Republican base by stoking fear and resentment toward transgender individuals. Ironically, Mace herself had previously expressed support for the LGBTQ+ community, even participating in Pride celebrations just a few years ago. However, her recent actions, attacking McBride's right to exist as a transgender woman, highlight the hypocrisy and political opportunism that has taken root in the GOP. 6. Trump's financial and economic missteps. It's not just Trump's political appointments that have caused chaos this week. His economic policies are also backfiring, with rising mortgage rates and tariff-driven price hikes causing widespread financial strain. Trump's promise to bring down mortgage rates to 2% seems laughable now, as rates have risen significantly since his administration left office. Retailers like Walmart and Target have been forced to raise prices due to Trump's tariffs, directly impacting the American consumer. In addition, Trump's continued assault on Latino communities has alienated many of his former allies. His administration's efforts to target immigrants and pursue denaturalization policies have sparked outrage among Latino voters, who are now reconsidering their support for the Republican Party. As we look back on this chaotic week, one thing is clear: Donald Trump's political empire is crumbling. His inability to maintain control over his own party, coupled with his disastrous cabinet picks, has exposed the deep fractures within the Republican Party. The GOP is no longer the monolithic force it once was, and its future is now uncertain. The humiliation of Matt Gaetz, Peter Heath, and the ongoing legal troubles of Trump's political allies paint a grim picture for the GOP moving forward. Perhaps most concerning for Trump and his supporters is the growing willingness of Republicans to turn on him. From the embarrassing nomination process of Matt Gaetz to the ethical compromises surrounding his appointments, it's clear that the party is no longer willing to let Trump dictate the terms of their political future. As Trump's grip on the GOP loosens, the party is faced with the difficult task of redefining itself in the post-Trump era. Ultimately, this week serves as a reminder that Trump's political power is not as invincible as it once seemed. The tide is turning, and the Republicans who have long enabled Trump's behavior are now starting to pay the price. As the GOP grapples with its future, one thing is certain: Donald Trump's chaotic leadership will be remembered as one of the most embarrassing chapters in American political history.